and welcome back to the channel. As you can tell from the title and the video, we're doing a part 2 of my summer reading vlog 2026. And this is a general summer reading vlog. I have two playlists. I have the 2026 edition of what's called the summer reading vlog, which is this video, which is part 2, and then last Wednesday's video, which is part 1. You do not have to watch these in order, but the very end of part 1 will give context for the books that I'm currently reading, which I'm 50% of the way through for 2 of them, and then 30% of the way through for the other one. But it's not that part 1 is more so for context, not, like I said, not necessarily that you have to watch part 1 before watching this video. So, with all that said, I have some books I need to talk about with you. With what I want to read. So, to start off, I did want to talk about the other books I'm currently reading. One of which is part of this physical pile, but I have 2 that I am listening to as audiobooks. The first one that I'm listening to is The Princess Bride by William Goldman, and it's narrated by Rob Reiner. This is the one that I'm currently about 30% of the way through. So, this one basically kind of like the movie, if you've seen the movie. So far it is relatively close to the movie. There are some definite obvious differences. And with this one, like I was saying in part 1, I was expecting to be more annoyed at Buttercup than I am, with how much everyone was like so annoyed at her. Like, it really got me going and thinking that I was going to be annoyed at her, which I'm not. There are definitely times where she annoys me for sure, but it's like I was expecting to just outright not like her character, to be really annoyed by it, and to not have the same expectations as the movie for her character. And she definitely differs from her movie rendition, but like I'm not as annoyed as I was expecting to be for this one. So, to give you the description for this one, and also for the sake of time and just for the sake of timing, last week's video was about an hour 15 minutes, give or take, and I'm not going to try to have this video shorter or longer than last week's video. While I'm not going to necessarily try to match the length of that video, I'm not going to stop myself from getting to that point if I feel like I need to. We're just going to let this video do what it needs to do. So, like I was saying, for the sake of timing, to keep it on the slightly shorter side, I have like 2 other books. I have a third that I'm going to pick up on Monday from my library, but I have like 3 books in my TBR stack for this video that I might not get to in this video. So, any books that I mention in this video, I'm not going to give the descriptions for every single one. I'm only going to give the descriptions for the ones that I'm reading right now, the 3 that I'm currently reading, and then once I finish those, I'm only going to give descriptions for the books that I then start. Again, that's just gonna keep it somewhat shorter, just because like I have the 7. I have 7 books at the very least that I'm going to be mentioning in this vlog specifically, and possibly an 8th, possibly an 8th and a 9th. And if I were to describe all of them, it's like that would be individually. It's not a lot of time, but like adding it up and adding it into a reading vlog, it would take a little bit of time. And I tend to be a talker, so it's like, to save a little bit of time, I'm not going to give descriptions for every single book. It's only going to be for the books that I am reading in this vlog. And also, any books that I am currently reading, or no, rephrasing that, any books that I started, that I was reading in this video, so any books that I finish in this video or start in this video, because I might get to the end of this video and I might be like in the middle of some books when I decide to finish up this vlog. So any books that I read, that I actively read in this video, will also be mentioned down below the description. So, because again, like I said, I have like 7 books. I have like anywhere from 7 to 9 books that I'm going to be mentioning. So any of the ones that I am actively reading, I will describe, and they will be listed down below in the description. So anyway, getting back to The Princess Bride. To give you the description for this one, what happens when the most beautiful girl in the world marries the handsomest prince of all time, and he turns out to be, well, a lot less than the man of her dreams? As a boy, William Goldman claims he loved to hear his father read the S. Morgenstern classic, The Princess Bride. But as a grown-up, he discovered that the boring parts were left out of good old dad's recitation, and only the quote-unquote good parts reach his ears. Now Goldman does dad one better. He's reconstructed the good parts version to delight wise kids and wide-eyed grown-ups everywhere. So, what's it about? I almost forgot that part. I was about to be like, what's it about? Fencing, fighting, true love, strong hate, harsh revenge, a few giants, lots of bad men, lots of good men, 5 or 6 beautiful women, beasties monstrous and gentle, some swell escapes and captures, death, lies, truth, miracles, and a little sex. In short, it's about everything. So that's what that is about. And like I said, I'm about 30% of the way through that. And then I'm also listening to The Vanishing Cherry Blossom Shop, or The Vanishing Cherry Blossom Bookshop. I am listening to this one as an audiobook in Libby. The Princess Bride is through Libby. Okay, so I'm listening to this one like an alarm went off, so I didn't end up stopping the recording. But I keep wanting to say The Vanishing Sakura Bookshop, but same thing. And this one is by Takuya Asakura with Hanako Footman, narrator, and then Yuka Maeno as the translator. I am 48% of the way through this. Let's see. As the last petal falls, the final page is turned. Welcome to the Cherry Blossom Bookshop, a haven for book lovers that only appears during a fleeting cherry blossom. Excuse me. During the fleeting cherry blossom season. Nestled amidst the delicate petals, you'll find a sanctuary for those burdened by regrets and past sorrows. Here, Sakura, the mysterious young owner, and her wise calico cat, Kaboko, patiently await the arrival of souls in need of solace and healing. Told over 4 seasons, each visitor to the bookshop holds a book that bridges their past and their present, guiding them towards understanding and acceptance. With the antique charm of the shop and the soothing aroma of freshly brewed coffee, Sakura and Kabako help their guests confront their lingering sadness through the power of stories, enabling them to move forward with renewed hope. So far I am really liking this one. At first I was a little bit confused going into this one, but then it worked itself out. So yeah, I am really enjoying that. And then the very last book that I am currently reading is a physical book. It's a borrow from the library, The Goddess of the River. I am basically 50% of the way through this. According to the story graph, I'm 67% of the way through. Which, it makes sense, but I usually don't include, I'm not including the endnotes, I'm not including the acknowledgements here, just because when I look at a page count and my basis of 50% of the way through the story, usually it doesn't include the acknowledgements. I usually do try to read those, but I'm usually not including that in the page count when it concerns the story itself. So now, The Goddess of the River. Ganja, a joyful goddess of the river, serves as caretaker to mischievous godlings who roam her banks. But when their antics incur the wrath of the powerful sage, Ganja is cursed to become mortal, bound to her human form until she fulfills the obligations of the curse. Though she knows nothing of mortal life, Ganja weds King Shantanu and becomes queen, determined to regain her freedom no matter the cost. But in a cruel turn of fate, just as she is freed from her binding, she is forced to leave her infant son behind. Her son, Prince Devavrata unwittingly carries the legacy of Ganja's curse, and when he makes an oath that he will never claim his father's throne, he sets in motion a chain of events that will end in a terrible and tragic war. So that's what this is about, and they have to kind of like work through the events of the curse and the aftermath of the curse and the aftermath of her son's oath. So that's what this is about. I'm still before the war because the chapters say it'll be like chapter 17, Ganja, many decades before the war. So I'm still many decades before the war. I'm really enjoying this so far, 50% of the way through. So yeah, there's that. And last week's video, like reflecting on that a little bit, near the end, I was feeling like a little bit disappointed and put out because the first 2 books that I was reading for it were DNFs. So it's like I was feeling a little bit put out because I DNF'd the first 2 books, and my updating rule, quote unquote, my updating stipulation, I guess, for it was that I was going to update you all at 50% of the way through, and I wasn't doing that, and I was really trying to be like engaged with the story. And then there was one book that I like binged through, and I loved that book, but it's like, oh my god, I wasn't updating you guys at 50%. It was like, part of it for me, the reason why I set that stipulation for myself there was because I didn't want to be updating every. So yeah, I was feeling like I was having to like. Oh, I lost my train of thought for a minute. So I was like, where was I going with this thought? I had to step away for a minute. But like, part of the reason why I had set that stipulation, like I was saying, was because it's like either what would happen when I do these reading vlogs is either I just kept updating you with where I was at, and I did this with the story graph too, where it's like when I was updating like page progress or hour and minute progress, where either it was like I just kept updating you all, which would add to the length, or I just wouldn't update at all, and then I would be finished with the book, and it's like I needed some in between. So I set the stipulation of 50% of the way through, and then it was like, well, now it feels like I'm not updating you at all because I have to wait. I'm reading 3 different books, and I'm not getting to 50% through any of them because I had 2 DNFs. There was one book that I like binged through at work one day, and like again, I loved that book, but it was just like there was one book I binged through it, so basically I updated when I was done with that. And even though I loved it, I didn't give you a midway through update or back to where I was before. So with this video, I'm still gonna have the stipulation of midway through updates, roughly 50%, give or take, but if I feel like I need to give you more of an update earlier than that, I will. So, yeah, so that is a plan for this. And then to talk about the other 3 books that I actually have here, because I will be picking up a book most likely on Monday. But the first book is We Dance with Demons by Vaishnavi Patel, the same author as Goddess of the River and then Kaikei. I most likely will get to this one since this one is a library book. So I'll most likely pick this one up after I finish Goddess of the River. And this is the other thing with library books, because it's like I keep putting these ones first because it's like I have to return them, which is great, which means I'm reading more, but it's like at the same time it's like there's a book that I have in the stack here. These 2 books I think I mentioned last week in last week's reading vlog. So yeah, I have like one of the books. So I have the 2 books that I own, and I'm pretty sure I mentioned them in last week's reading vlog. And one of them I want to get to, like the other one I started a while ago and then I needed to pause it because of everything else that I was reading. And it's like I want to get to both of them, but then it's like I keep putting holds on physical library books, and I put those ones first, and then it's like when, like I said, I'm a talker. So anyway, like I said, I'm probably gonna pick up this one after I finish Goddess of the River, and then I have the other library book on hold that is currently in transit to my local library. So I'll probably, like I think I said, I'm being repetitive at this point. I will most likely pick that up on Monday. It's currently Saturday, and then there'll be that one. And then I think I have some audiobook holds in Libby as well. I have some other borrows currently. So let's actually. So the other two books that I have on loan from Libby. So I have the Vanishing Cherry Blossom Bookshop, which currently listening to. I should be done with that one soon. And then I also have the Shrouded Queen. Who's the author for this one? By Ashley Tropea. And I have this as an audiobook in Book of the Month. I bought it as an audiobook for my July audiobook, for my July Book of the Month. But like I've said, I do not like listening to audiobooks in Book of the Month. So I'll buy them and then I'll rate them, but I don't actually listen to them in the Book of the Month app. So usually I will borrow them from Libby. And then the last book, sorry for the tapping, but the last book that I have is on loan in Libby is the stationery shop by Marjan Kamali. And this one, I decided to put a hold on it because I have seen it in my local Barnes & Noble a few times, and I really liked Lion Women of Tehran by the same author. So I'm thinking, just because, like, I'm really weird with, like, when I like an author, I like to have all of their books in the same kind of format, either hardback or paperback. Or, like, however I get them, I like to have the book in that same format. But the stationery shop is not available in Book of the Month through Book of the Month. But I have the Lion Women of Tehran through Book of the Month. So I might donate to the Book of the Month edition of the Lion Women of Tehran and then get both of the paperback editions if I like the stationery shop, which I think I will, but we'll see. So those are my holds from Libby right now. And then these are the other two books that maybe we'll try to get to in this reading vlog. We'll see. I might. The other book that I have in transit to my local library, my physical one, is Dungeon Crawler Carl by Matt Dinium, whatever his last name is. And that one's a chonky book, and I am kind of giving into the hype for that one, which usually I try to avoid the hype, but the hype has not died down for this book, so I'm like, okay, I'll give it a shot. So, the first book from the books that I own on my bookshelf is The Chateau on Sunset by Natasha Lester. And this one, I'm planning on this one being like my Dungeon Crawler Carl pause book, where if I need a pause in Dungeon Crawler Carl, then I will pick this one up as my kind of brief cleanser, because she is a go-to safe author for me. Excuse me. So if I feel like I need a little bit of a break from Dungeon Crawler Carl, I will pick this one up. And the plan is to get to Dungeon Crawler Carl in this video as well, so we will see how that all goes. And then the last book this is kind of like an overarching tentative TBR, because it's like, I do have holds from the library. I don't have any more physical holds in the library other than Dungeon Crawler Carl. And then the ones that I have on loan are the ones that I have here, two of which I'm going to be returning probably Monday. So I don't have any more holds just because I feel like I need a little bit of a break, and I want to give myself some time to read this one and the other book that I'm about to mention. So the other book is Malice by John Gwynne. I did start it, and I did pause it, and I put it on pause in the story graph. I got to page 104, 105. Let's see. View all. The nice thing is that you don't see it in you're currently reading. But if you click on, let me show you real quick. So basically, see here, you would click on View All. Of course, I can't freaking do it. View All, scroll, and then you can see at the bottom here, paused. And that's where any of your pause books are. And this one, like the pause feature is mainly for like library books where it's like, let's say you can't renew the library book and you need to pause the reading. That way it's like, it's not on your currently read shelf for like forever, but it's like you can still access it as a current read when you're able to pick it up again. So I was like 104, 105 pages in. I got to about 14%. Okay. Oh, that was when I did a softie enough of it. When was that? Okay. It does not say when I did enough to that, but I think that was last year. Maybe not last year, maybe that was earlier this year. I don't remember. But yeah, that is the tentative game plan for this video. No hard and set requirements for it. We're gonna have a good time. I had a really good time with last week's reading vlog as well. It's just, you know, when things like when you set requirements and then like you're feeling like even though you are meeting them, it feels like you're not, and when you're not meeting the requirements outweighs when you didn't meet the requirements like 2-3 times, it outweighs like the 4 or 5 times you did meet the requirements. That's kind of what happened last week. So with all that said, I will come back to you when I have an update for you. So again, it's a tough requirement of checking at 50%, but I can check in whenever. So I will come back to you when I have an update for y'all, or when I have Dungeon Crawler card on my hand, because I will probably want to give you all a reaction to the size. So I have seen it physically. I've seen the later books physically. I haven't seen the first book physically yet. So I'll come back to you whenever I have an update or that. And we're already like 60 minutes through. I'm a talker. So if you made it this far in the video, let me know what book or books you've read from the ones that I've mentioned. Let me know down below in the comments. Okay, so I have an update for you. I finished. I'm not surprised that I didn't update you more with this book because I was already like 67% or so through this book when I started this reading vlog. And it'll kind of be the same for the Vanishing Cherry Blossom Bookshop and Princess Bride. I probably won't update you guys with those ones until I finish those books since I've already started them. But any books after I start after this, after those, like at this point in the video, any books that I start later, you understand what I'm trying to say. Any books, I'll update you a little bit more as I read them. But I have finished Goddess of the River. I give this, I think, 4.25 stars. I absolutely love this. And like I was saying, it definitely has that kind of more subtle feminine rage aspect to it. And it was a beautifully told story. I feel like there were parts of it that did drag out a little bit, where I was thinking like, okay, let's keep the story moving. But I don't think those parts took away. Excuse me. I don't think those parts took away from the main story, from the story as a whole. And at the end of the day, it's like they pale in comparison to how much I actually did love this story and enjoy it and love the characters and the love and the rage that I felt for Ganja throughout the story. So I have finished this, and this will probably be returned on Monday when I stop by the library. So there's that. And that means that I will be starting We Dance with Demons. And this is a contemporary fiction, where with Goddess of the River and Kaikei, those were more historical fiction. This is more contemporary. But this, I feel, definitely is more obvious on the nose with the female rage. So To give you the description, a long dormant magic awakened by blood, visions of the women who wielded it unlocked through dance, a fierce battle for choice and justice. As a reproductive healthcare worker in Chicago, Nisha is barely staying afloat in the ocean of abortion bans, screaming protesters, and her own all-consuming depression. When she escapes the Indian art exhibit of her favorite museum for a brief respite, Nisha suddenly finds herself bleeding, disoriented, and collapsed on the floor. The last thing she remembers is the statue that beckons her to touch it. In the days that follow, Nisha, I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing it, feels a strange power coursing within her, one that attracts a host of dangerous and enigmatic characters who covet it for themselves. Facing threats both otherworldly and distinctly human, Nisha must navigate uncertain alliances to piece together the centuries old mystery of her odd and terrifying abilities. As as danger closes in on her loved ones, her community, and her clinic, she's determined to protect. And the clinic she's determined to protect. Nisha must make a choice about the life she wants and fight all the demons standing in her way to get it. So I feel like this one definitely is more on the nose with feminine rage, bodily autonomy, obviously. And while we're on the subject, I really try not to get super into politics because I've said it before, reading is political, and I've said my stance before on this channel. Um, when you're reading a book like this, it is hard to not get political because this is very on the nose, like I said, with feminine rage, on the nose with not just being pro-choice, but pro-women. And honestly, like, I've seen some stuff around where it's like pro-abortion might be a better way to describe it because it's like at the end of the day, no woman wants to have an abortion. At the end of the day, no one wants it. Like, truly. But sometimes, because it's like, and the reason why I say at the end of the day, no one wants it, that's because most women do not want to be put in that situation where they have to choose to have an abortion. Where sometimes it's not a choice. Sometimes they have to have an abortion. And they don't want to be in a position where they have to make that decision. So, like, it's that kind of a thing. So, being pro abortion, it's not necessarily being anti life because you have to consider the mother's life as well. And you have to consider all the other factors. And having a child can be so expensive now. And it is so expensive, especially if you have a child already and you're adding in another child or a third child. It's like it can add up no matter where you are. So that can be stressful. And if your other child has specific needs, you're adding in more to the mix of what you have to do. And if both you and your partner work, if you're not a single parent, but both you and your partner work, there's something else to take into consideration with childcare. And then there's parental leave, and then whether or not the parental leave is paid and how much you get paid on parental leave and how long it is. So it's like there's so much more to consider with having a kid than just having a child and just being like, do we want a child, yes or no? There's so much more to consider than like, yes, we want the child, or no, we don't want a child. So reading is political. Sometimes it's more obvious, like in this case. Sometimes it's more obvious that a book is more political leaning or trying to make a political commentary, but it's necessary. And honestly, I hope I enjoy this. So, let's see, how long is this? That's it, not including the acknowledgments or the author's note. Jeez. Sorry, guys. My foot caught on something. Something on. So I have like the little corner bookshelf in front of me. Okay, so And with that corner bookshop, there's something sticking a little bit further than the bookshelf. So this is 287 pages. So this should be a quick read. It'll be like 140 pages, give or take, where I'll be halfway through. So I probably will have more commentary on this one, so I might update you all before 50%, but I will update you for sure 50%. So I wanted to give you that update because, boy, we're doing good so far with this reading vlog, which I am happy about. So we're off to a very good start right now. Okay, so I wanted to give you all a quick little update. Between yesterday when I updated and today, it's like about noon o'clock. It's like noon, 12 o'clock on Sunday. I finished both the Vanishing Cherry Blossom Bookshop and The Princess Bride, both audiobooks. I was listening to the Vanishing Cherry Blossom Bookshop in Libby, and then Princess Bride and Libro FM. To talk about the Vanishing Cherry Blossom Bookshop first, I gave that 4 stars. I think it was really good. All the individual stories were very unique and very different, but they all wove together very nicely, and you had like the main overarching themes of regret and missed moments, and then you had Sakura and Kabako, their little interludes, which I really enjoyed and really liked. I will say one of my favorite ones was the first story, and then the second story was my second favorite, and then the third and fourth stories for me were a tie at third place. But I did really like how in the second story there were so many mentions of Nat King Cole. I love Nat King Cole so much, so that was making my little Nat King Cole girly heart very happy. And then Princess Bride, I gave it 3.75 stars because I did enjoy it more than I was expecting, but a large part of that was because my expectations were so low, like the bar was on the floor. So yeah, I wasn't as annoyed at Buttercup as I was expecting it to be, like I was saying. And I do think that there was something that could have been done better. I do think Buttercup's character could have been a lot better, but I'm not annoyed at this book. I'm glad I read it. I'm glad I enjoyed it, and I highly recommend, if you can, listening to the one where Rob Reiner narrates it. May he rest in peace. I highly recommend that version. So those are my updates for you, and then I've started reading The Shrouded Queen by... I'm blanking on the author's name. I'm going to say Ashley Tropea, something like that. It's down below in the comments. I'm listening to that as an audiobook through Libby. I do have the audiobook in Book of the Month. I did buy it for my July Book of the Month selection. I've mentioned this before. I hate listening to audiobooks in Book of the Month, so that's why I borrow them from the audiobooks from Libby. So yeah, I'm listening to that right now. I will let you know when I'm about 50% of the way through, maybe earlier if I feel like I need to. But that's the update that I have for you right now. Wanted to let you know, and I will see you all when I have another update for you. Okay, I'm going to try this over again, because I was just recording this part of the video, but then I was talking a lot, as I do, and like I want to have conversations with you, I want to talk to you, but like at the same time, it's like I don't want to lose the plot. And this was a moment when I was just recording for this bit. I was like, I'm losing the plot here. So, first things first, I want to get this update because I almost forgot about it, which is where I started to lose the plot a little bit with talking to you guys. I did drop off my books at the library. I hadn't checked if Dungeon Crawler Carl was ready to pick up. It's still in transit, which probably means it was just coming from one of the further libraries. That's not as close to the Encina Tarzana location, because there's this one. The closest to me are the Encina Tarzana and then the one on Vinowen. And then I think there are a couple close by. But those are the closest. And like there's the one up closer to Seasun on Nordhoff, and that one's relatively close too. So I think I was just coming from one of the ones, maybe like Studio City or the main Los Angeles branch or Central Library. Like, it was coming from one of the ones that was a little further away. So that'll probably be ready to pick up by the end of the week. I might go over Friday or Saturday to pick it up. And then I've also decided I don't really have a great update for you with this. I'm at chapter 3. She just collapsed and she woke up. So that's not a spoiler because it was in the description. And this is a sense where I think the description was fine. Like, I've talked about this before. But, like, so oftentimes, especially, like, my silver platter example is the Disney Twisted Tales series. Those synopses, those descriptions give too much away. Whereas, like, this one is a good counter argument where it's like this one does not give too much away, and what it does give away happens early on enough that it's not necessarily a spoiler. Whereas with the Disney Twisted Tales, oftentimes those happen a little, like, it's not that they're happening super late in the series, but it's like or in the book, but it's like it's happening past the point to where it would be considered a spoiler. So anyway, if you're reading the Disney Twisted Tales series, do not read the descriptions. Whatever you do, save yourself, let yourself be surprised. I don't have a great update with this. Like I said, I was at chapter 3. She's just collapsed and woke up, and she's a little disoriented. So that's where I'm at with that. I feel like I've said before, I think I'll have some pretty good updates with that. But like I said, I'll be updating at 50%. And I keep saying we dance with demons. Excuse me. Which I feel like could have worked as a title as well, but it's We Dance Upon Demons. So there's that one. I feel like I'll have some pretty good updates with that, but I will for sure be updating around 50%. I would say between 40% to 60% is when I'll be updating saying I'm at the halfway point. These are my thoughts so far. Just because, like, sometimes it's like, I think I talked about this maybe, where it's like, I think I talked about this with the Vanishing Cherry Blossom Bookshop, or one of the other books I was reading, where I'll count the actual story, and I'll read the acknowledgments in the author's note, but I don't count those to the page count of the story itself. So it's like when I'm halfway through a book or through a story, I'm not including the acknowledgments in the author's note. Again, I do try to read those. But anyway, the other pseudo update I have for you is, hopefully, fingers crossed, all goes to plan. I'll be going to the beach with my mom and my sister on Thursday. Knock on wood. I'm knocking on wood. I have a little corner bookshelf here that's wood. And that's where you're shaking. Sorry. So, stop shaking. So, my cousin might be joining us. The thing is my cousin's in town, and we want to meet up with him again. And it might be a situation where Thursday is his only day to meet up, but he may or may not be able to go to the beach. So if he is able to go to the beach, he'll be joining us. If he's not able to go to the beach, but Thursday is his only day to meet up, we're rescheduling our beach day, which fingers crossed, I hope not. Like, obviously I'll choose to spend it with my cousin, but it's like, even if we can't go to the beach, but it's like, I need a beach day so badly. We did not get a beach day last year, so it's like I'm desperate for at least one this year. But with all that said, I really wanted a book for the beach. I was like, I need a beach book. I need a summary book. And, well, I think on the one hand, this would be good for a beach read, and it would definitely cause a few looks, which I think it needs. I don't know if I'm in the right mindset for that to be a beach read. And 2, it is a library book, so I don't want to, like, I'm usually really good about keeping my books safe and in good condition. And I'm also really good about making sure they stay safe at the beach. Since that's a library book, I don't want to risk it. So I have decided to choose another book, which I talked about earlier. The Chateau on Sunset by Natasha Lester. And this one, 1957 Hollywood, it's a Jane Eyre retelling, which Jane Eyre retelling might not sync up with summer very well, and when I think about it, it doesn't sync up with summer. But like the hotel on Sunset Boulevard's right on the beach, or part of it is right on the freaking beach. So it's like one of my bunnies just showing me vibes. This is like Sunset Boulevard's on the beach, and it's Hollywood. Also, parts of Hollywood are beachy town vibes. So perfect for summer read, perfect for beach read. I'm not going to give too much of this away. Other than it's a Jane Eyre retelling, reimagining set in 1957 Hollywood. So, and the little blurb is, when the lights go down, the secrets come out. So I'm really excited to read this one, and I think it's perfect timing. And I want to show off my bookmarks more. Sorry. I want to show off my bookmarks more, so I'm going to be using this one for the Hotel on Sunset. The Chateau on Sunset, excuse me. So I'm going to see, again, perfect beachy vibes. So, yeah. Anyway, let me put this back at chapter 1. And, like, this is the, like, when I was getting the bookmark ready, it was the first time that I really looked at inside the book. Yeah, so the beginning quote says, "I see at intervals the glance of a curious sort of bird through the close-set bars of a cage. A vivid, restless, resolute captive is there. Were it but free, it would soar cloud high." Charlotte Bronte, Jane Eyre. So that's a quote. It's a Jane Eyre talk, if I haven't said that already. But this is like the first time I was really looking inside. Just because like she will have like title designs, but like kind of simpler. And this is the first one where I'm like, hey, this was quite a bit of detail that went into this. And then there's also for the book club. Nope, not that. Schwab's mint julep. There's a mint julep recipe in here. I love it when there's recipes in here. And there's movie recommendations and music recommendations. I like that. I like it when it like I know having like a music playlist is kind of a hot topic. I've seen it be discussed quite a few times. Don't worry, that's the acknowledgements page. Like, I've seen people discuss it quite a few times and being like, it shouldn't be there, there's no point. It's like, I'm in the middle where it's like, I do not care. And it's one of those things where it's like, if it's a book that I really like, then I will put together my own playlist in Apple Music, because oftentimes authors or publishers, they'll create the playlist in Spotify, and I don't use Spotify. I refuse to use Spotify. So it's like, I'll do like a little playlist of my own in Apple Music. And like, I like it when they have, like, I like it because it's like, hey, the author put a lot of thought into this, or maybe like the publishers, but like someone put a lot of thought into having a selection of, in this case, movies and music. Someone put a lot of thought into like being like, hey, these were the movies at the time, these are the popular songs at the time, this is what would have been playing. So it's like, to me, that just shows thought. And like, I do agree that like for like a fantasy book or something that's a little bit more fantastical, it's like not as necessary, because it's like, why are we playing pop songs? why are we selecting Taylor Swift songs for a fantasy book? Like, there are some songs that I would be like, okay, yeah, like I could see this. Like, there's a song that I've been listening to, it's called Hobbit's Life, and I think the artist, her name is like Megan something. I'm blanking on the last name. But it's gotten popular on TikTok recently, and I've used it a couple times. And it's like that one, yes, I can see it in a fantasy world because it has that ethereal, fantastical quality to it, intentionally so. And then looking at like some other songs, there's some other songs, but it's like if I want to get into like a fantasy world, I'm gonna play my Lord of the Rings playlist. I'm gonna play Studio Ghibli soundtracks. I'm gonna play the Celtic Trilogy playlist from the. I'm blanking on the company name, but I'm gonna listen to the soundtracks of Song of the Sea and The Secret of Kells and Wolfwalkers. Like I'm gonna listen to soundtracks that are fantasy movies to get me into that fantasy mindset. So it's like with fantasy books, I don't understand it as much unless they're saying like, hey, listen to Lord of the Rings, or hey, listen to these musics, or hey, listen to this artist who does more fantasy-esque sounding. Listen to Enya, that kind of a deal, you know. So it's like when you're doing like pop songs like Taylor Swift or Beyonce, like all due respect to Beyonce, but it's like if you're doing like Taylor Swift or Beyonce or Bing Crosby or Nat King Cole, I love Bing Crosby and Nat King Cole, or like Ella Fitzgerald or Dinah Shore. Like if you're doing them, it's like okay, like at what, like it has to fit with the vibe of the book is my point. And for this one, let's see. Let's go back to that list. Because I saw it. Mint julep. I love how it's. I will say, I do love how there's a mint julep. There's a library. I love that so much. You can tell that I'm just now looking at this. So, mint julep. Schwab's mint julep makes one cocktail. Ingredients: 8 to 10 mint leaves, 2 ounces of bourbon, 1 ounce of simple syrup, mint springs, and crushed ice. I'm not a huge mint julep person. I will drink it occasionally. I do like the one at Disney. Okay. So, step into the world of Chateau Marmont, where movies, music, and more awaits. And remember, if you must get into trouble, do it at the Chateau Marmont. Now showing in the Chateau screening room. So it's like these are movies that would have been playing then. Well, this one, no. But it's like these are movies that would have been around, or would have been started. Bonnie and Clyde, 1967, directed by Arthur Penn. How to Marry a Millionaire, 1953, directed by Jean Negulesco. The Sound of Music, 1965, directed by Robert Wise. Rebel Without a Cause, 1955, directed by Nicholas Ray. Myra Breckenridge, 1970, directed by Mike Sarn, filmed inside the Chateau Marmont in 1969. A Star is Born with Judy Garland, 1954, directed by George Cukor. And then Casablanca, 1942, directed by Michael Curtiz. The Long Hot Summer, 1958, directed by Martin Witt. Gone with the Wind, 1939, directed by Victor Fleming. Breakfast at Tiffany's, 1961, directed by Blake Edwards. So it's like, even though some of these are after 1957, it's like these are all things that would have been that are of the time and make up that 1950s, early 1950s, 1960s. And then there is also, well, don't fall. I don't know if you heard that. I just set my wallet down up here, kind of around where you are at. Side A, California Girls by the Beach Boys. Don't Smoke in Bed by Nina Simone. Light My Fire by The Doors. Bing Crosby. Didn't I just mention Bing Crosby? I love Bing Crosby. Bing Crosby could have had his own holiday. I'm never going to shut up about that. Anyway. Swinging on a Star by Bing Crosby. Cry to Me by the Rolling Stones. And then side B, Great Balls of Fire by Jerry Lee Lewis. Heartbreak Hotel by Elvis Presley. I'm Making Believe by the Ink Spots and Ella Fitzgerald. And then Sonata in D minor K by Scarlatti. And then there's also, in Aria's bookshelf, Jane Eyre, The Bell Jar, We've Always Lived by the Castle by Shirley Jackson, Bonjour Tristesse by François Sagan, The Borrowers by, that's the one that inspired The Secret World of Variety. There we go. Blanked on the name for a second. The Borrowers by Mary Norton, Daisy Miller by Henry James, War and Peace by Leo Tolstoy, The Secret Garden, Rebecca, Breakfast at Tiffany's, Heidi, Anna Karenina, Myra Breckenridge, A Little Princess, In Search of Lost Time, The Tiger, and Little Women. So it's like, I like this because it's like, that's part of it was the source material, I'm sure, and like the inspiration, that time period, but also part of it's just like, hey, if you want to like be reading some of the same stuff as these characters were reading and listen to some of the same music, there's some recommendations. So anyway, that's my update for you all. I'll stop rambling. At least this time I was on the plot, where last time when I first the first time I recorded this, I was not on the plot. So that is my update for you all, and I will either see you at the beach or in my next update. We'll see which comes first, or we'll see which one comes. Hopefully the beach. Fingers crossed. Okay, so I think this will be the last update for this video. I'm pretty sure this will be the last update for this video. Just so it can be a little bit on the shorter side, first off. And second off, just so it's like, I don't know, I feel like I'm at a good stopping point right now. So to talk about the books that I finished up first. This first one I'm going to talk about that I finished, I feel like I might have already talked about finishing it. I've talked about it in this video, obviously, but I feel like I might have talked about finishing it already. So if this part's repetitive, I apologize in advance. I don't think I've talked about it, but at the same time, I don't know. So, We Dance with Demons by I keep saying the wrong title. Anyway, 1 second. Okay, we're back. We Dance Upon Demons by Vaishnavi Patel. Same author as Goddess of the River and the Kaikei. And honestly, like, I would, like, this is my little thing. Like, I wish Book of the Month had Goddess of the River and We Dance Upon Demons. I wish it had those on as well as Kaikei, because I like having like all my books like in the same format, like from the same author. I like them having them in the same format. Like I have all my Natasha books as paperbacks. I have the What the River Knows duology as Book of the Month, and then I have like my Lord of the Rings. I have my different Lord of the Rings series and Hobbit series. I have those in like different formats, but I like having it being the same format, because then like I can kind of group them pretty closely together, since I organize by paper, and then I organize by paperback, and then I organize by hardback. So it's like those are two separate categories, and then that way I kind of know, okay, all my Natasha Lester books are here, all my XYZ books are in the Book of the Month section, all my Elizabeth Lim books are in the hardback section, not Book of the Month, but they're in the hardback section. That kind of deal, yeah. So it's like, and I like having all my Book of the Month books together. And like, I wish Book of the Month had this one and Goddess of the River, because then I could have, but then they probably wouldn't do the deckled edges for Goddess of the River, and I've talked about this, I love a deckled edge. That's something I've not shut up about in this video. Anyway, So, getting back on topic, like I said, did I say this? Anyway, I gave this somewhere between a 4 to a 4.5 stars, I want to say. You can check out my star graph down below, but overall, like, this is like a really powerful read and really important considering our current state of things and how abortion is treated and how healthcare is treated and how women's health overall is treated. Um, I would go into this one with some content warnings. This book, it doesn't have a page of content warnings, but the story graph is good about having content warnings. The only kind of bummer thing is that they are user added. Um, So there's that to keep in mind. And something that's like really triggering for someone else might not be as triggering for you. But like I said, Storygrapher is pretty good about having that content warning section. And if you have, I don't remember where to set this up, but I think you can set up in your profile that you don't want to read as many books with certain topics. There's a way to set that up in your account. And then, like, if you've done that, then the story graph with any titles that have some content you don't want, or you've marked as like you don't want to see as much or you don't want to read as much, those titles will have like a little yellow alert triangle thing with the exclamation point, like the alert triangle, to be like, hey, this has some proceed with caution. So it's like, I don't think it says it explicitly, but it'll have that triangle if you've marked a topic as you don't want to see it as much or don't want to steer clear of those topics. And that book has one of those topics. Anyway, so go into this book with some content trigger warnings because they are important. Yeah, this, like I said, this is very important to read. I'm gonna now. Dungeon Crawler Carl is ready. I was hoping to get to that in this video, but given that that's a chunkier book, that's not a surprise. And Malice is also a chunkier book, so it's like I'm not surprised I didn't get to those in this video. But yeah, I'm probably gonna pick that up soon. But 100% 10 out of 10 recommend this. There were some parts that felt a little bit more glossed over, and there were some parts that, like, the pacing felt a little disjointed to me, but at the end of the day, like, that didn't bother me too much. So we Dance with Demons. And then the other book that I finished, I was listening to at work and finishing up the audiobook of The Shrouded Queen by Ashley Tropea. And honestly, I absolutely love this book. I think I gave it like, this one I gave between 4.5 to 4.75 stars, I think. And the main thing for me with The Shrouded Queen was the pacing. And it's not that the pacing was like necessarily bad because it's a very fast action paced book, but it's like there were times where it's like you would like be going, and then it's like all of a sudden you have like a really, really slow moment in comparison to everything else. And honestly, like, excuse me, I felt like I wanted a little bit more time with these characters, but I think this is going to be a duology. I know there's going to be at least 2 books, and I hope it sticks to 2 books. But yeah, that was like the pacing. So like the pacing was like my biggest gripe. And again, like it is meant to be a faster paced action romantasy type book. But it just like it was like the fast pacing and then like the moments of like really slow pacing. That's what made it feel like a little bit like it was like momentarily like too fast in comparison to those too slow moments. The TOO fast in comparison to the TOO slow moments. And also, like, another thing that kind of docked it down a little bit for me was the fact that I caught on to, like, this is something you learn it in the first book. I'm not going to say it because you do learn it later on in the book. But you do learn it. Oh, I have a bruise from the beach. My ankle, the rock hit me. I was just scratching it and I was like, why does it hurt so much? Anyway, like, you learn it in the first book. I'm not going to say what it was because, like I said, it's later in the first book. But I caught on pretty quickly to what that was. Like, what exactly was going on in regards to this one character. And or to both of the main characters, to the two women who are the two female main characters, in regards to them and in regards to their connections. I caught up pretty quickly to what was going on in regards to that, and I remember thinking too, because it's like, thankfully I can listen to audiobooks when I'm working, because my I only try to do it when I'm doing a little bit more mundane stuff where I don't have to think as much when I do it. But it's like I remember thinking like, oh, I think like when I got to a certain part with Samira and Kier, I got to a certain part in that part of the story, and I was just like, oh, I wonder if it's XYZ. Again, I'm not going to say it. I wonder if it's XYZ. It's in regards to the Shroud. I will say that. So it's Samira and Kier in regards to the Shroud at that scene. That's all I'll say. And I was like, oh, I wonder if it's XYZ. And then later on in the story, like when I was finishing up, I was like, I called it. So it's like that also like took it, like it's not, that also took a little bit away from me, because it's like, not that it's supposed to be like a mystery really, but it's like it felt like some of the build up to that was taken away because I guessed it kind of quickly. And again, that might have just been like a me thing where it's like I just caught on really quickly, and again, that could have totally just been a me thing. But I was like, oh, like I called that. And it's like, I love Samira and Kier, and it's like they're obviously ending up together, and enemies still over. This. I had to say that multiple times. This is what I'm talking about when I'm talking about enemies to lovers. And it's like, again, it's not a perfect enemies to lovers, but this is what I'm talking about when I'm talking about enemies to lovers. It's this. Because it's like there is a serious distrust between the two, not because they have like a personal vendetta against each other personally, but because they're meant to not like each other because of their sides. This is what I'm talking about when I'm talking about enemies to lovers. Because Kier has his suspicions of Samira, thinking she's a nut. And then Samira has her suspicions of Kier because of what he is. They're the Call, I think it's called. The Call. So it's like they're very suspicious of each other. They don't like each other because of their backgrounds, and there's no love at the start. And like I said, like with a lot of other quote unquote enemies to lovers, it's more like rivals to lovers, because at one point, usually in heteronormative relationships, at one point the guy will be like, oh, I always loved you, and then it's like, well, that's not fucking enemies to lovers. So it's like this. I finally found a good example for me of what a good enemies to lovers is. Again, it's not perfect, but it's really good. So I cannot wait for book 2, and I'm so sad that I read it so soon, because we have book 2 still. I don't know when that's coming out at this point, but I'm like, I need to get a physical copy. I have my book of the month audiobook. I'm gonna get the book of the month audiobook for book 2, and then I'm gonna get the physical books at some point. And the other thing too is there is another character that we follow in Amanette's side of the story. If you know, you know. I do not like what the author did. I feel like it was needed. I feel like needed, I feel like is a strong word. I feel like it, Jesus Christ, words. I don't think that it was unnecessary. And I do think it added to the plot. I didn't like it. I don't think it was unnecessary, I don't think it was fully necessary either. And I think part of that stems from Amanette's reaction to this incident. Excuse me. So, yeah. Like I said, I think I gave it like 4.5, 4.75 stars. Just because, like, the pacing and also like the fact that I caught on to it so quickly. Again, it's not a huge deal because it is stuff that you find out within the first book, but it's just like I caught on pretty early on, which, like I said, impacts some of the build up to it, where it's like once you find out, it's like, okay, yeah, I knew that. So I really enjoyed it. Can't wait for book 2, like I said. And then as for the books that I've started, after I finished The Shrouded Queen, I borrowed the Shrouded Queen audiobook from Libby, just because, like I've talked about, I don't like listening to the Book of the Month audiobooks. I don't like listening to the Book of the Month audiobooks in the Book of the Month app. And then the other audiobook, again, one that I bought through Book of the Month, and then I'm borrowing it through Libby, Hopeless Necromantic. I always want to say necromantic. I need more people to talk about this book with. I'm 35% of the way through now. I listen to like 4-ish hours at work, and it's like I need more people to talk about this with. I love this book so much, and it's like would I call this cozy fantasy? No. No. It's like it's kind of like near that line of being cozy fantasy, potentially being cozy fantasy, because there's a lot of like somewhat coziness to it, weirdly, but it's like it's not cozy fantasy, but it's close to that cozy fantasy line. Like let's say this is a cozy fantasy, this side's cozy fantasy, this side's just fantasy. It's like right here. So it's not at the line of being cozy fantasy, but it's close. So yeah, I need more people to talk about this with, and it's so weird because it's like I'm very picky with my romance stuff, and it's like I need my peeps to be together. I need them to be together. Like, please, thank you, together. Now I know they're gonna be together, which is like it's one of my slight issues with romance, because it's like part of it is that you know who the main couple's going to be. You know who they're going to be because that's who you're following. Whether you're just following the girl or you're just following the guy, or you're following one part, whether you're following, that's for a heteronormative relationship, you guys. Whether or not you're following one partner or one person who's going to end up in that relationship, you know who they're going to end up with. But it's like that, and that's part of the appeal for romance. I do understand that that's part of the appeal of romance, is that you know that they're going to get it happily ever after in HEA. You know who the main couple is going to be, and you know that they're going to get together. That's part of the appeal, and it's like that's part of like my appeal for it too, because it's like ideally I like romance. I'm on a romance kick because the Shrouded Queen, that was a romantasy. That worked for me. This is working for me, and I'm only 4 hours in. I don't how many hours are it? Let me double check. Yes, I need to check. There it is. Okay, like I need more people to talk. I'm 35% of the way through, like 4 hours in, 11 hours and 45 minutes, give or take. Like I need more people to talk about this with. And like I think part of it for me as well is that it's more medieval fantasy. It's not medieval in the sense of like royals and like courts and stuff. Well, it is, but it's not like a historical fantasy where it's like you have like it is not real places is what I think I'm trying to get at. Where it's like it's historical is medieval. I don't know where I'm going, but like it's medieval without like the real places. That makes more sense. Hopefully that makes sense. It makes sense in my head. And it's like I just need my babies to end up together. Like I need to squish them together. I love them so much. Like I need them together. So yeah, 35% of the way through that. Really enjoying it. Apparently I'm on a romance kick. Maybe thanks to summer. I don't know. It's working. Whatever it is, it's working. And then last but not least, my other current read is the one that I started at the beach. The Chateau on Sunsets. And I read 22 pages. I got to chapter 3. And, or, 1 second. Let's see. Where is this? Okay, I read like 12 pages, give or take, because I started at chapter 1. I'd already read the prologue, and then I started at chapter 1 at the beach. So I read like 2 chapters. And so far, I'm intrigued. I like, what are their names? The 2 actresses who kind of take her under their wings. It's Flitter, I think, was one. Calliope and Flitter. I like them. And I kind of don't have the best read on Arya right now. I wanted to read more, but we were kind of short on time because one of our bunnies needs medicine regularly, and also, um, my cousin joined us, and he's in town, so we're like, "Hey, meet us at the beach." So he came over. I'm not blaming him. I loved the fact that he came over, and spent the day with us at the beach or the morning. But like it was that, and then we were short on time, so I was like, and then right when I started reading, right when I fucking started reading, it wasn't windy before this. It was maybe like an hour before I started reading. um, it got windy, and it was windy for the 30 minutes that I was trying to read. And after I stopped trying to read and I went back out into the water for a bit, it stopped being windy. And at that point, I was like engaged in conversation with my cousin again, and I was just like, "You've got to be fucking kidding me!" It's like Mother Nature was like, "Nope, you're enjoying the beach today," which I needed. I needed that, to be honest. So like I was like, we got to the beach, and like the first thing we got into the water, like I got into the water. I spent like 10-15 minutes out in the water first thing, and I was like, I needed this. So that was really nice. But with all of that said, that is going to be the end of this video. If you made it this far and watched the full video, I have a two-prompter for you. First off, what is the book from this list that I mentioned in this video? What is the book that you're most interested in trying to read? And what is the book on your summer TBR that you're hoping to get to soon? That is all for this video. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you all in my next video.